116. Dover acher madar we talked about lechem oni, that it has to be a broken piece. Madar shel oni hu masik v'ishto oife. Let's say a poor person doesn't have a lot of wood, so he sort of pushes his wife along to bake the matzah quickly, because the amount of wood that he has is going to run out and the oven's going to get cold. Here as well, in the same vein, the wife bakes the matzah very quickly, so it shouldn't be chametz. That's why another reason why it's called lechem oni, because it's the way an oni bakes his bread quickly. Okay. Mishnah said afal pishein charoises mitzvah, that we have charoises even though it's not a mitzvah. If it's not a mitzvah to make charoises, what do we do it for? Because of the harshness of the horseradish, this cools it off.
I can't hear anything. I can't hear you. Can everybody hear Ernie? You can? Can you hear him? Okay, then go on. I can't. Go on. Go on, Ernie. Go on, go on. I will listen after.
Because it says in Shir Hashem, tachas tapuach or articha. The tapuach is a because it says oila min amidbar misa oila min abidmar misrapekas al doida tachas tapuach or articha. So that's the remez to that. Rav Yechon Omer zecher latit. The charoset is to remember like the cement. Omer Abai hilkach tzarach lekuhuye v'tzarach l'smuchi. You have to make it a little bit like vinegary, like with vinegar, and you have to make it smooth. Why is this? The kuhuy is echel tapuach. The making it a little vinegary is a remember of the eitzav of the children being born. The tzarach l'smuch is echel tit has to be like moist and soft, like the That's why they have to chop vegetables in it. So it should be somewhat thick, like cement. The spices are similar to the straw that was put to make the bricks. And the charoises is for the cement.
So even though it's supposed to have a vinegar taste or something like that, because of the tapuach, aren't we utilizing the charosis as kappa to get rid of the bitterness of the vegetable?
So it had to have a little bit of both. So it had to be a little bit of both, because of the tit doesn't need it, but for the tapuach it needs it. So you put enough. We'll see. It's a good point. We'll see. The Rashbam says the tavlin, the besamim shematilim charois zechel tevin, shekochim boadag zechel tit, and we'll see the halach in a minute. It will answer, I think, some of your issues. The sellers of charoises would say, "Come and buy the mitzvah." Now, the Shulchan Aruch says, this is in Orach Chaim Tafayin Gimel, the halachas of the Seder night. It says charoises mitzvahi. So first, what's a mitzvah? V'zechel tapuach v'letit. V'nohagim la soiz zechel letit. Lat pepo gam dvarim charifim. You have to put some spicy things in there. V'nogu lasos charoises mi peiros shenimshlu ben Yisrael b'sifrei haneviim v'shir hashirim, like te'enim, kapuchim. Kana ben Sholas Aviv. And here, the son asks his father, the manishtana. The main das ba ben Aviv malamdo. If the son doesn't have das, the father has to teach him. What's the shailas? Manishtana laila zemi kol haleilot. Shebechol haleilot. All other nights we're not chayiv to dip even once. The father teaches the son based on his understanding. Excuse me. The father answers the various shaylas based on his level. Part of them, he doesn't have to answer all of them. Maskil bignus Messiah b'shvach. The basic format of the Magid is you have to start with bad. We'll see what that means, either Avadim Ayinu, or Arami Ovedavi, our Lavan wanted to kill us, or we were Ovdei Avodah Zarah. That's Maskil Bignus. U'Mesayim B'Shvach, you finish with praise. V'Doresh Marami Ovedavi, Yachikmar Kol HaParsha Kula. In Parshas Kisavo is the Parsha of the Vidui Bikurim. that when you brought the Bikurim, you would recite a parsha, and in it is Vanitzak El Hashem Elokeinu Vayar Sonyenu V'Samalenu V'Slachatzenu. The whole Haggadah is the drasha of Arami Oved Avi. That's from this Mishnah. Ton Rabbanon Chacham B'noi Shoyala. If the son is smart and he knows how to ask, the son should ask. That's the ideal. V'meino Chacham Ishto Shoalto. If the son doesn't have the ability to ask, his wife should ask. If the wife doesn't have the ability, who shoalatzmi asks himself. That means there has to be a question and answer. It's a Socratic method. It's got to be starting with a question. You have two Gedolei Ador. They know everything about Pesach that there is to know. They still have to ask each other the questions, because that's the halacha of how the Magid should work. Then we said, Manishtan alayza mikol alelos. All other nights we dip once. What do you mean? Every night of the year, there are nights where we don't dip at all. What do you mean we dip every night? It seems to imply that we dip we don't dip. So in fact, all other nights, we don't even have to dip once. But tonight we have to dip twice. Master Rav Safra, understand. Yesterday we were taught what was the whole purpose of the two dippings is just to keep the children, curious. So you're chayiv to do it because of the tinoikos? Like it's hard to understand the word chayiv. That means we take the word chayiv out of there. In general, we are not noyeg to dip even once. We're noyeg to dip 2 times. So you have the rishus and you have the minhag together. Then the Mishnah said, Maschil bignus u'misayim b'shvach. What's this? My bignus. Rav Amar mitchila oivdei avodah zara. Hay ovosenu, right? That Terach, in the Haggadah, we're going to mention that Terach, the father of Avram, was an idol worshiper. That's the Maschil bignus. Shmuel Amar, no. The gnus is avadim ayinu l'far b'mitzrayim. That's the gnus. Amar Rav Nachman l'doro avdei. Rav Nachman said to his servant Doru, Avda the mapik le'mar l'cherus. A master who frees his servant, v'yoav le'kaspa v'dav, and gives him gold and silver. What should the servant say to his master? You have to praise him and thank him. You know what? We don't have to say manishtana anymore because the dialogue we just had fulfills that. You brought the Iker Inyan of the Chag HaPesach. That's after the Ben asks, you start with Avodim Hayinu. And you finish the Haggadah with Hallel. Now, before we get to the Hallel, as is the order of our Haggadah, right, we have the famous Mishnah of Rabban Gamliel. Rabban Gamliel ayu oimer, kol shloimer shlosh dvar me'elu b'Pesach, lo yotzei dechovoso. You didn't mention these 3 things on the night of Pesach. You have not been chay. You have not been yotzei your din of magid. Who Yitzias Mitzrayim. Eluhen Pesach matzah umor. Pesach al shum shepesach hamakom al batei v'tzei Mitzrayim. Because Hashem passed over the houses. Shenemar v'amartem zevach pesach ul Hashem asher pasach. Period. Matzah is al shum shenigalu v'tzei Mitzrayim. The matzah is because of the geula. Shenemar vayothu tzabotzik asher otzim Mitzrayim. Ugos matzah ki lo chametz. Morer al shum shemeru mitzrim eschay v'tzei Mitzrayim. The Mitzrim embittered the lives of the Klal Yisrael. Shenemar vaymaris chayim. This Mishnah says b'chol dor vador Every generation, each person has to see himself as he went out to Mitzrayim. Shenemar, which we'll see, it means Pesach Matzah Morer. Asali b'tzeitzim Mitzrayim. And then lefichach anachnu chayovim lahodus lahalo shabek lefor lerom l'adil levarch l'alel kalais. Lemi shasol avosenu v'lonis kol anisim ha'elu. Otzianu me'avdus l'cheres miyogim l'simcha mi'evel yom tov. U'me'afel lior godel me'shibud l'gula v'non l'fanav halaluka. And because of that, we say praise, which begins the Hallel. So the Mishnah wants to know, ad heichan hu oimer. How much Hallel does he say prior to the Suda? Only the first capital of Hallel. That's the sheet of Beis Shammai. No, you have to say B'tzeis Yisrael Mitzrayim as well. The two first capitla.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
V'choisem begeula. And then you make a bracha which mentions Goal Yisrael. Rav Tarfon Omar, no, it's not just Goal Yisrael, it's a longer bracha. You have to say Asher Goalanu, V'go'alas Avosenu Mitzrayim, V'lo haya choisem. And he wouldn't finish with Baruch Atah Hashem. Rabbi Kiva Omer, that Cain, you have to add as well, Cain Hashem Elokeinu V'kevosenu, Yagienu L'moadim L'golam Achem, you should bring us to other Yomim Tovim. Haboim L'krasenu L'shom, Smeichim B'vinyan Yircha, happy in the building of your city, Yerushalayim. Ad Baruch Atah Hashem Goal Yisrael. So first of all, the Rambam. So, Man Domer got it to be Rav Yosef. They asked, who said the Haggadah in the house of Rav Yosef? Rav Yosef. And Man Domer got it to be Rav Sheshes, who was also a blind person. Rav Sheshes. So how could Ravacha be correct? These people said the Magid. So the Gemara answers, Ksavi Rabbanon, perhaps these Chachamim held, Matzah B'zman Hazeh Rabbanon, and it's only Rabbanon. And therefore, you don't have to be Magbil because of Bavur Zeh, they couldn't see it, they can still say that Goda. What? Does Ravacha hold that Matzah today is Deraisa Ravacha Bar Yaakov Huda Omar Matzah B'zman Hazeh Rabbanon? So how could Ravacha himself say that a Summa would be Potter? Ksavar, because he held, called the Token Rabbanon came Deraisa Tikkun. That even a rabbinic mitzvah, when the Rabbanon made a takana, they did it like a Deraisa. So the Gemara says that Rav Sheshes and Rav Yosef Nami Avada called the Tikkun Rabbanon came Deraisa Tikkun. So if you're going to tell me Rav Sheshes and Rav Yosef held that it was Rabbanon, that's why they were able to say the Magid, but they also hold that whatever the Chachamim do, they do it Ke'en Deraisa. Whereas this Hachiyashta, there's no comparison. Bishma Hasam, by the case of Ben Sor Moira Midahavale Lemichtiv B'nei Nuhu. What they didn't have to say B'nei Nuzeh. They could have said B'nei Nuhu. He's our son. Uksiv B'nei Nuzeh Shma Mina Prat L'Suminu Da. So that whole pasuk was brought to exclude a summa. Aval Hacha. So in the pasuk of Vigata Levincha, Bayomahu Leim or Bavur Zeh. So my lichtov. What could he? Could have said Bavur Hu. He's referring to the items Pesach Matzah Moror. So what else could it have said? My lichtov. Ela Bavur Matzah Moror Hu Da'asa. The whole thing is because of Bavur Matzah Moror. And you don't have to point with an etzba or lift it. So therefore, the summa is also going to be chayiv in the Haggadah. Okay. Then we're going to do lefichach. We'll deal a little bit with the halal tomorrow. Okay, so tomorrow we'll learn. Yeah, tomorrow we'll learn at 7:30 the daf and.